Welcome to week 37 of Chronological Bible Teachings Bible Literacy Movement. You're with us now. You're in Ezra. And Ezra is this mighty man of God, a priest and a scribe who loves the Lord and loves his law and loves to teach it to God's people. Ezra, as you're going to meet, is going to teach us God's word. We see in these days Daniel 10 through 12. Daniel prophesies of coming times. He unfolds the future. That period between the Old and the New Testament, Daniel unfolds for us, promising the end of the Babylonian regime and the beginning of the Medo-Persian regime, the end of that regime, the coming of the Greeks, and the end of the Greek reign as the Romans take over, march into Israel, and rule. But their coming, Daniel tells us, sets the stage for the coming of the mountain that will be planted, that will never pass away, when the kingdom of the Messiah is established among God's people. Daniel tells us this, and this is an exciting time. Ezra also tells us of the peoples coming to rebuild the temple. They start well, but are attacked and discouraged, frustrated. Even legal counsel is used to stop them from doing God's will. They let it sit until God raises up Haggai and Zechariah, two mighty prophets who speak to them. Haggai speaks first and tells the people that they've been cursed by God because they've misplaced their priorities. Instead of loving God's temple, they've built for themselves beautiful homes and let the temple stand empty and unfinished. And so they're challenged, and God says he'll put his blessing back on them. Zechariah joins in this call to rebuild the temple, and then Zechariah begins to unpack one vision after another of the Messiah joining the role of priest and king, the Messiah suffering and wearing the wounds in his hands, the Messiah being pierced for sinners, the Messiah opening a fountain for sin, the Messiah coming as a king who is lowly, riding on a colt, the foal of a donkey, and the one that one day will come in glory, and those who pierced him will look upon him and be ashamed. Zechariah unfolds for us all of these glorious prophecies of the Messiah. He's one of the great prophets about Messiah in the Old Testament. In the same period, in another part of the world, we meet Esther. She's married to, after Vashti is deposed, Esther ends up married to Xerxes the king who sought to invade the Greeks and whom the Spartans fought off there at Thermopylae. He is this great general of this amazing army, but he's Esther's husband. And in this glorious book, God's name is never mentioned, but his providence shines through. We see the Jews are sentenced to be exterminated from the land. Mordecai is the uncle of Hadassah, who is Esther, is sentenced to death immediately. And Haman, the wicked co-ruler under the king, ascends to a height of power unparalleled. He builds a gallows for Haman. But on that night, the king could not sleep. A sleepless king. He calls for the books of the Chronicles of the days to be read. And in it there is read how that Mordecai rescued him from an assassination attempt. What honor and dignity has been done to Mordecai? He said, well, none. And God begins to reverse all the wickedness that has been planned. The providential hand of God unfolds in step after step as Haman is exposed. Mordecai is rescued and exalted, and Esther and Mordecai are able to save God's people. This is one of the glorious stories of the Bible. The name of God never mentioned. The glory, the power, the providence of God shine clearly through the story. Remember this, sometimes you may not see God at work, but underneath the scenes, God is at work. Rest this week in him, and as you read, enjoy his providential hand at work, doing what the eye cannot see, nor even the ear hear about his name. God bless you.